normally I would ask people like, oh man, watch the whole phone thing, but the fact that you're moving and shaking.
Yeah, it doesn't stop.
And during this time,
even though I don't get paid for anything anymore,
it's just kindness of your heart, man. All right, this is it. We're officially rolling, man. So you are listening to a Chatter Effect. Again, people, these are not interviews. They are conversations. You know what I like? I like when I see somebody build something and improve their life and improve their career and constantly get better and better and climb a mountain that they themselves built. We all have a little bit of luck, but for the most part, I like people that are self-made, and we're going to talk to a dude who's very self-made. Not only is he overly attractive enough to be on magazine articles and print ads and probably commercials and things that you've seen, he's behind the scenes. He's building things. He's building acts, so the dude knows how to be off stage, on stage, in front of the lens, behind the lens. He knows how to promote. He knows how to be promoted. Introduce yourself to the masses, man.
My name is Kenny Braasch.
I thought you were going to lie for a second. It seemed like you were coming up with like a fake name for a second. Kenny Braasch, ladies and gentlemen. And let me start off by saying I'm freaking proud of you because
thanks, man.
As long as I've known you, you were always like the nicest dude. And it's just weird how like you've just become like bigger and better every year that I know you. It's nuts, dude.
I started really young at Bourbon.
How young? So Bourbon Street, folks. So Kenny is a true Chicago dude. It's like Southside Chicago dude.
I'm from South suburbs from Oakland.
So there he is, and Bourbon Street, for anybody outside of the Chicagoland area, 115 Bourbon Street is a place just south of the city. It's a Chicagoland joint, and it's an incredibly huge and successful place. If the Bears do something cool, if the Bulls do something cool, and the news have to like cover it, they're covering it at your place.
Except for right now.
Except for
when
it's strange
the Sox and the Cubs play each other in the World Series.
Yeah, man. So this is interesting. This is going to be the first time I've kind of been I've been doing things remotely. I haven't really talked about like this is the first what I would consider the true COVID episode too, man. We're going to get into like how our lives have changed because of it.
Well, I just wanted you to see the view.
Your view is kicking, but I mean seriously, I haven't really talked about how COVID has like changed the career for this year. Horrible,
but also not bad.
Yeah, so that's what we're going to get into. But we're going to get into like how this dude, man, I'm gonna tear into your story because it's nuts. So long story short, seriously, the dude, from my knowledge, I'm just going to give you the outward knowledge that I have is he was working at one of the biggest, most successful clubs in the Chicagoland area. He was a booking guy, still is a booking guy. He was booked the band I worked with and currently work with. And then as I kept watching, the dude you went from like the dude who worked there to the dude who booked there to the dude who built the best bands to work there to then all of a sudden you're like, well, I'm already kind of good looking, but maybe if I make myself great looking, I can use that too. Because then all of a sudden, and again, folks, we're gonna get into the details. I'm giving them the quick table of contents. Because then all of a sudden, I'm like, wait, Kenny's got abs. Like those aren't like my buddy who works at the gym abs. Those are like somebody sculpted. It's like what the hell happened? and then there you are. And then like you've covered some the print ads. You've worked for some heavy hitters, right?
I mean,
and he's humble.
I mean, I've done a million. I mean, I feel like I've been doing the modeling stuff since I was like I started late. As far as like modeling's concerned,
that's what's interesting because I didn't remember seeing.
I was only like in my maybe early 30s.
That's crazy.
And I'm 39 now. I haven't even been doing it all that long. Like most dudes usually start when you're in your 20s or even 18, 19,
16.
Some dudes like when I first signed with an agency in New York and I went and lived over there. So you go and they call it the model apartment. Like you go and you live, and the agency owns apartments, and I went to New York and I don't fucking know anybody. I've never even been there, and I like packed 2 suitcases and went.
Okay, all right, here we go. Hold on now. So we're gonna get into it. And by the way, on top of that, people, eventually we won't say exactly how, but if you haven't already seen him on print ads or commercials or something. you're going to know the name forever and ever. The guy's going to be seen anywhere and everywhere there's something to be seen. Let's just say that. So that's there's that.
Maybe not forever. Maybe just a flash.
These things go on. These things go on.
Maybe a flash.
You're going to be remembered. So this guy, he's knocking on fame's door. But all right, so let's get to the beginning though, because I like the bottom of the mountain.
Okay.
First and foremost, when I met you, you weren't totally booking the place, were you?
No,
so
no,
what
no.
were you doing when I first met you?
My first, that's how far back we go. I think we go back as far as I've actually worked at Bourbon Street, which is going on like 17 years, like 04.
Jeez.
So my first year and a half, I was just like a part-time promotion dude. Like,
how'd you get the gig?
So they actually posted the job. And I was just out of college.
Yeah.
I was working for, at the time, Oldies 104.3 with your boy Dick Biondi.
Dick Biondi, folks, that's like a legendary Chicago DJ.
Yeah. And I fucking loved working there, but the money was terrible.
Okay.
And I always, I loved Bourbon Street. I hung out there. It was like, at that time period, it was like the biggest fucking thing ever.
Yeah.
Not that it
still
isn't that, but at that time it was like it was like in its like super, almost still in the honeymoon phase of being Bourbon Street. So it was like massive.
Yeah, it was crazy.
So I knew people there and they posted this job, and in a roundabout way my mom worked for the bank that the DeNovo family like did all their business at. So like she knew them, and
so the DeNovo family, that's who owns Bourbon Street?
Yeah. At the time, it was Nick, Vince, and their father.
I remember Nick. I
think. Nick, you would know Vince too. You would know them both if you saw them. So, but it was the two brothers and the dad, and my mom used to take care of the dad at this bank. He would come in, and do that thing and all that. So like there was like a little connection there. And it was like a real thing, like interviewed and blah blah blah, and then they hired me to do this, and I quit 104.3 to go to Bourbon Street.
Wow.
And
so what were your first responsibilities?
It was fucking like taking pictures on the weekend, and just like I used to like get on the bar, and you remember we used to throw beads out and shit at midnight and all this like goofy shit. Like I was just doing random shit. Like, and at that point it was like the best thing in the world. Like I'm drinking at work. It was like
right.
And I'm like,
how old
this
were
is
you
unbelievable
at the time?
Shit. Well, what's 39 minus like?
So that makes sense 16. Too, because you were like, a young dude who
25.
So maybe? You were having fun, like you were the right guy for the job.
And I was living at home. That's all. That was it. I was like, and I always wanted a job to just be like invested in. Like I just want to be, I never wanted to hop around. Like if I'm going to do something, I want to go like 100%. I'm invested in this. And just like
very Michael Jordan,
and like live it, like be it, like whatever. And that's how it was with Bourbon Street. I mean, to this day, I'm still there, and we're talking about 17 years ago. But in the beginning, I didn't really, I don't know. I just felt like I was just like hanging out and getting paid, not great.
Yeah,
the money wasn't great. But
so then that's man, dude. That's what I like though. That's what's so interesting about this, because to see that's where you started. That's nuts, because then. What becomes a bigger responsibility all of a sudden?
Well, basically, at some point, the booking, they were switching out of the current booking situation.
Okay.
I was pretty involved with the bands.
Because I remember that before you were booking,
I would like take care of the bands.
Okay, yeah, because you were like
I was the contact for the bands, which didn't mean a whole lot. It was just I was the go-to guy to deal with the bands.
But you were for a while, like when I first went there, you were who I equated Bourbon Street with.
Yeah, because I was like I was just the main contact for all the entertainment. Yeah. So I would, if there was an issue, if there was blah blah blah, whatever. And so I had a handle on like the relationships with the bands and what bands were doing well, who wasn't. Cool. Some other bullshit, whatever behind the scenes bullshit was going on. Yeah. Like I knew pretty much what was going on. So when they wanted to switch up the booking, they're just like, hey, why don't you do it?
You already had a relationship.
And they just looked
with
at
all
it.
The bands, right?
The owners were just like, fuck it, let him do it. Little did we, that I know I was going to be doing it for fucking
really
for 15 years, but that's kind of how it was. It was kind of like, fuck it, let Kenny do it.
That's insane.
Like it wasn't looked at as like a huge responsibility at the time because we really just had the one small stage.
Right.
This is how far back it goes.
I remember it's so funny how like a Wednesday or a Thursday was just as big as a Saturday there, but with the band.
Well, when I was there, Thursday was the biggest night.
Yeah, we would perform on Thursdays, and I just remember thinking like, this is nuts,
I mean, there would be like 3,000 people there on a Thursday for years. You
start booking the bands then. So that's phase one. I mean, right off the bat, being a guy that's the booking dude for a pretty big place like that, though, that's already a big step.
There was a lot of issues in the beginning. Me being young, I was taken advantage of by a lot of people in the beginning and pushed around.
As far as just
money, just how people. Fuck.
Oh, absolutely.
Fuck, man. So
the beginning, when you get into all the shit, the beginning of it for young dudes, we're underpricing. We don't know anything.
And I didn't fucking know what I was doing either. So I get it. But looking back, knowing what I know now, looking back, like 100%, like I was being bullied around, I was being taken advantage of, no fucking doubt.
Yeah.
And like I said earlier, before we were recording, like there'll be plenty of people that I do business with, or over the years they'll go around town and say I'm a jagoff or I'm an asshole. I wasn't always like that. Yeah. I was created that by dealing with all these people.
I could
you know what I'm saying?
And I could speak for Kenny though, man, that you to me what happened is, like all of us, you became a little more hardened because we all had to be. I
had to become a dickhead at some point. Because you can't just say yes.
Right.
Oh, whatever you want, here. Oh, you want $5,000? Here's $6,000.
Right. Yeah. But we all had to go through that, which is crazy. Like we all had to become harsher. I mean, I'm harsher with band members than I ever was in my life because I thought,
I know,
I got to take care of my guys and girl or whatever, and then I started to realize, well, they're kind of walking all over me here. I got to be a little more of a jerk.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's not. I'm not. I don't think it's a bad thing. It's actually allowed me to become more of like being able to run a business.
Yes.
At this point, because I consider myself like the fairest motherfucker ever.
Yeah.
Like there is nobody out there that could ever say that Bourbon Street or myself like screwed you on money.
No, you're a good
like
dude.
Ever agreed to a price and tried to renegotiate the price at the end of the night. Like,
right.
And that in this business, that is hard to even say because it happens every fucking place almost.
You're right.
We deal with. But
yeah, it's true.
It's just I'm usually only an asshole when it's like when I need to be an asshole. Like if it's to me, in my opinion, it's usually just me reacting to something. It's not me being a dickhead and you know what I mean?
Yeah, but like we were talking about earlier though, like reacting to, some of the harsh stuff that we encounter when people are jerks, that's not that's protecting your band and your people. To me that's just you might be getting too hard on yourself because I think you have to take a stand when someone's being a jerk. You're not being an asshole. You're being
but the
you know what I mean. But sure, it can look that way,
right? But when everybody goes, because I mean,
the chatter.
It's such a small world that we live in.
Yeah,
just in the bar industry in Chicago and the music scene and everybody. It's just such a small thing. But not that we care. I care or you care about.
Can we know who our friends are?
Right, the people that need to know who I am or. Right. What I do,
and then you and I can sit off mic before the show and badmouth everybody we want.
That's my favorite part. That was the real pod. That's the real podcast.
That was the show. No, but it's true. But what's interesting though is what you're touching on though, man. Is and again, this is what impresses me. You start off doing the basic marketing, but then you start learning, and that's what I like. I like that you're learning what needs to happen in the bar. You're seeing what makes something successful, and then all of a sudden you're learning how to deal with the bands. You're learning what bands need. You're also learning, like, you speak band. Like, I know dudes and people like you, girls and guys who are in charge of things that don't really know even how to communicate with a band. You understand bands.
Sure. Yeah.
Because you were that guy.
Yeah.
So then all of a sudden, how many years are you just booking before anything else crazy happens? Creating bands, modeling, all that.
Just straight booking up until I believe it was about 2013.
So the booking thing that became more or less, was that the main responsibility, or were there other things you had to do for Bourbon as well?
At some point it developed into, the booking. Obviously we got bigger. Bourbon Street grew. We added stages. There was multiple stages.
Guys, there's like 3 humongous stages at this place, and each room that the stage is in, I don't even know what the numbers are like.
So we actually just got our place capacitied
really? Okay.
about a month ago, and we're at 4,500 right now.
Jeez.
Total capacity.
Wow, that's crazy.
Back in the day, it was probably more like before we added the big performance hall, so minus like 1,500, so maybe 3,000 people.
Yeah.
But it was always at least 3,000.
It's nuts.
And now it's at 4,500. But I also book, at some point I started handling the DJ stuff because we have a nightclub in there as well.
Yeah.
So, and then somewhere along the line,
the patio.
There's the beer garden.
We'll do huge.
We'll do shows outside.
How many people fit outside there?
The outside it probably can hold 1,000 people without seating easily.
It's enormous.
Yeah, it's huge. That's not even counted on the 4,500.
I did an unplugged show there, and they had everybody pretty distanced because of the way the world is now, and it was still there were a lot of people fit in that place. I couldn't believe it.
We're able to still do 300 out there spaced,
really?
6 feet apart, the whole deal.
Yeah,
it's a huge space.
All right, so here's the thing: you're doing the booking thing, and that's becoming a thing. And now, again, man, talk about on the job training, because a lot of people who end up with your type of job, they're like maybe booking these tiny little places and they're learning the ropes. For you to learn the ropes at like one of the biggest venues, it's nuts.
But it was like
you were thrown in the fire.
It was cool though, because the owners we were all in the same boat. Like that was their first place, and it was just like it's a family owned business. Even though it's huge. Yeah. It's just like any internally, infrastructure wise, it felt like any mom and pop store you would go in.
Wow.
It was just like on another level. It was weird because we've had so many huge events there. Like
they saw it.
Who? Bare Naked Ladies?
No, Bare Naked Ladies. You had the Bare Naked Ladies, right?
No,
hey, Jim Cregan, how are you doing? He might be listening.
They never, when they first opened Bourbon Street, I'm sure they never had a clue that it would develop into what it did, because we've built. They've added the performance hall. Then we took over the whole storefront next door and expanded inside. Like, so many things have happened over the years there.
That's right, because you guys have, private events happen over there and stuff.
I mean, they got it's really just ridiculous.
All right, so then you didn't blow it. You helped them succeed, which is great.
Well, I mean, there was
awesome.
What year was it? 08 or 10, when it was like there was a really, like when the housing market crashed.
Oh, with all that was a weird time.
It was very similar, not exactly to the extreme of what we're going through now.
But that was a tricky.
We
time.
Started. There was a point where there was the bar industry really fucking tanked for a while, and we felt it, and we lost. We had those Thursday nights back in the day. It was huge, fucking huge. Yes. And it's, sort of got lost in that time period. And, but the cool thing is we've always just been able to reinvent new things or come up with new things. Like it's always a constant, like, okay, what the fuck are we going to do now? Like, that's what we do now. Like, okay, everything's fucked up. Right?
Yeah, with COVID, yeah.
Right. Well, now it's just like, I don't fucking know.
Nobody knows. Yeah. Well, that's nuts though, man. But again, like the fact that it kept thriving, and you were a big part of that, man. Like, I mean, you probably don't even think of it because it feels like your home base, but I mean, it was just every once in a while, do you ever look, and people, I'm telling you guys, if you live in the Chicagoland area, you probably know of 115 Bourbon Street. If you don't and you're visiting Chicago, whenever life is normal, look the place up. It's an epic joint. It's crazy, you know.
Honestly, no bullshit. Yeah. I've never... and I try to explain this to people when I'm like in other states or doing other shit. Like this place, I've never seen. It just doesn't exist anywhere else in the country. Yeah. There's nothing. There's really not, and it's weird. And it's weird. I hate saying that because it sounds like arrogant because that's where I work.
You know what? That is fascinating because I'm with you. I've toured and I've done a lot of rooms all over the place, and the only thing close to like a Bourbon, well, there's nothing like a Bourbon Street, but anything like it is kind of patterned. You know, there's like City Winery, which is a one-room thing, and you see a bunch of those. There's a franchise, but the multiple rooms, the cool atmosphere, and but there's nothing like Bourbon Street.
There's places that have the multiple rooms and all that stuff, but it's just not.
It's a different.
It's not structured the same, and it doesn't. You know, when you pick when Bourbon Street's, you know, on a Saturday night when it's like really legit times, you would walk in and you'd have a band playing, two bands playing in two separate rooms that you could be in one room and not even know that there's a band doing a show for 1,000 people in another room. And then between those two rooms, there's a nightclub with 800 people with a DJ. But you don't even know what's going on in these other rooms.
Yeah.
And then you kind of walk around and it's like, it's nuts. So it's such a cool place, but
we're going to have to definitely reach out to your bosses at Bourbon Street for all the love that we're giving them on the show.
Yeah, right?
Wait a minute. These new patrons are calling to see if we're open.
The goofy thing about it is that we're talking and doing all this stuff right now, but it really, everything is sort of funneled. Anything that I've done or anything I have going on is somehow funneled through Bourbon Street at some point or came through Bourbon Street. You know, even just modeling. Like,
really,
if I had another, a fun fact is I could have became a police officer in Oak Lawn.
What?
I tested. I did the whole thing.
No way.
I got called like 2 years later to go to the academy. Whole deal.
Were they like, you're too good looking? Listen, you can do this as a stripper, but we're not going to let you.
Honestly, dude, I went to the owner's house and I said, hey, you know, what should I do? And I ultimately, obviously, ended up passing on.
You went to Bourbon Street owner after you'd passed the test to ask?
So I've tested physical test. You know how it goes. Like, you get your name on the list and then you wait. It was 2 years later they call to give me the job. Like, hey.
Is that how that works, really?
Yeah, and I had 2 days to decide. And it's like, hey, and you got to go to the police academy in a week.
By the way, they should work on that because 2 years is a long time. Like, a dude
that's what
dude could either.
That's how the fireman thing is. Like,
really?
You test and then.
But police and like, man.
Now they would take you right away.
Right now they would, yeah. But it's just funny that there was a time that you'd test and you go through it all, and then in 2 years they'd let you figure that out because it's like, wait, in 2 years, a lot can happen in 2 years. You could gain 300 pounds. You could turn to a life of crime.
Yeah. Well, you go back and there was like another interview, but I did all the steps up. Yeah, it was literally up to the point where I was like either going to the police academy or staying at Bourbon Street.
So what did they tell you when you went to talk to the Bourbon Street folks about it? What did they say?
I mean, at the time it was Bourbon was it was a massive heyday for Bourbon Street, and it was, you know, there was always talks of like, you know, opening other locations and doing all this crazy stuff. And, you know, it just felt like, and going back to what I said, like I wanted to be somewhere that I wanted to be invested in, and I didn't want to leave Bourbon. Yeah. I wasn't thinking about money, which I probably should have been at the time. Sure. Because obviously, you know, but if I would have been like the chief of Oak Lawn by now. That's how, you know, I would have been on the force for 15 years, probably making 150 grand a year.
But wait a minute. What was there just a light bulb moment for you, or did they say something in particular? What ultimately made you say, all right, forget it, I'm sticking here?
I think I had the decision made that I was going to stay at Bourbon anyways. Yeah. I just, for whatever reason,
it just didn't feel right. Like it.
I stayed, and I've always I've always had a good connection to the owners. You know, the family. You know, we obviously fight like family.
Sure.
You know, and you know, we'll go through periods where we fucking hate each other and everything's cool, but ultimately, it's just I don't want to ever leave there. You know, it's just sometimes I want to step away or sometimes I want to say fuck it for a while and just, but at the end of the day, even when I say that, I will always take care of my business, booking, that, and going back to like business stuff, like nobody will ever accuse me of like, if you need a fucking answer or you need a text message, I get a text about business or anything related that needs a goddamn answer immediately. Like no one would ever say that I don't do anything but respond like immediately. That's because I know how that is.
But where do you pick up that? Is that something you picked up from watching the owners of Bourbon Street at a younger age? Like where do you pick up that kind of idea?
I don't even know, dude.
Work ethic.
I think that actually started. I started being like that more when I started doing starting some of my own side stuff.
Yeah.
Because like if I shoot you a text and you're in the band, you're in my band.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, can you do this? Like I start getting pissed if I don't get responses in like 5 minutes. You know what I mean? Like
the hard notes.
Anybody booking like would probably agree with me. Like if I text a band and be like, "Hey, are you available on October 31st for Halloween party at Bourbon Street?" Like, and I don't get a response in like 5 minutes, I'm like, "Fuck this guy."
Well, that's the tough thing is that everybody wants the guy. They want you. They want the booking guy. But then part of that responsibility is, well, you got to be available then because the club that's booking and calling you. You need to give them an answer. You're in that hot seat, I know. But yeah, that's well. All right, let's get into that because I think I'm going to go into bourbon, and then I'm going to go into your band work, and then we're going to get into the modeling. So the what makes you suddenly decide you're going to form your own groups? And by the way, folks, the boy band night is your flagship group. That group, I feel like the very first show you ever did, and I want to get into how you built it, but the first show you ever did was like. The crazy show, epic.
I want to say it was 2014. I believe was our first year.
Was your second show Joe's on Weed?
Our first show was at Bourbon, and then I don't know if it was Joe's. So
I felt like
we played Joe's live right when Joe's live opened.
Okay.
But no, we did Bourbon, we did Joe's on Weed.
Yeah.
Because basically those were our like sort of like our home bases.
I just felt like I saw you'd mentioned you and then some of the guys that I knew had mentioned like you gotta come check this out. Probably the drummer Dave mentioned like you gotta check this out. And I thought I went to. It was easily one of your first 5 shows.
Yeah.
And I couldn't believe, like, what? This is their second or third show.
I know.
And it was jam-packed. Yeah. So you found something. But talk to me. How did you build this band?
That was really just, well, first of all, the concept is what drew the people. Because it was a fresh thing.
So smart. Yeah.
We did an event at Bourbon, like a boy band night thing, and it went really well. And then after that,
so explain that to me. Was that a band, or you just decided you were just going to play boy band music that night? It was
no. We had another band. There was a '90s dance band.
Gotcha.
And
So you just featured boy band music that whole night.
Yeah. So it was basically like, hey, let's do. They basically just put a set together of boy band music for the night, and we did the event. It was, it was fantastic.
And that put something in your brain then?
And it kind of just spurred off like, okay, this, something that draws that well with no fucking background to it.
Yeah.
You just kind of threw an event page up and it was like 8 million people wanted to come see what the fuck it was. Jeez. Well, just because it was new and the timing was good, nostalgic wise, and all that.
I got to tell you, the timing is so interesting because you guys all know, the different shows I do. But when I'm doing private events, I feel like 10 years ago, if you did Sweet Caroline, the whole place would just go nuts. Yeah. Where now, if I do I Want It That Way by the Backstreet Boys, that's this generation's Sweet Caroline.
Right. It's still got legs.
Yeah.
It's like on the forefront.
I'm telling you, for like the 30, 40, 50-year-olds or so, it's their Sweet Caroline.
I know.
Like that's just like the big, so it's your concept. But I don't think you're one of the first people that I've seen, well, the only person I've seen truly do it right in the Chicagoland area.
Yeah.
But to really have that idea of like, oh, wait a minute, there's like 5 or 4 or 6, I don't know, these famous boy bands that would pack places why not build a whole band? I mean, I thought it was a brilliant idea.
The cool thing was that there was a lot more material than because we just pull there's like your anchor. First of all, so it's a boy band tribute. We do NSYNC, Backstreet Boys, New Kids on the Block, One Direction.
3 singers.
The base of it is 3 vocalists, and
They're up front.
and then a full live band behind it, which bass, guitar, keys, drums. It's a big band. It's 7-piece. But the 3 guys mimic, NSYNC or Backstreet Boys. They do the dances, the iconic dances. They don't do every fucking dance, but they do. They do the ones that you would want them to do.
Right.
If you're an audience. But there's no tracks, there's a few, the keyboard player, adds his patches and some stuff, and it's all live,
That's
the guys
great.
harmonize great. And, we got really lucky, finding the dudes, to be honest.
This is what impresses me, and I want to ask you about this too. When I saw them again, it was like, it must have been the second show, the third show.
Yeah.
And I thought that you had so much success before you even had time to perfect the band.
Yeah, they were a train wreck in the beginning.
Well, I didn't hear I didn't hear train wreck, but I remember thinking like, oh, they sound good, and this is good. Mm-hmm. And you and I were just sitting together in the green room.
Yeah.
And I wanted to because I just loved that you took this journey, and I'm like, if he has any respect for me as a performer, I should probably tell him what I think. I remember mentioning you like, hey man, maybe just make sure. I think I even said like, make sure their vocals are tight or whatever it is, and then. I came to, and you were so cool because I still thought it was a really good show, but I just thought, man, put it over the top.
Yeah.
And when every time I would see them, because it was pretty spread out when I would see them, if I saw them again or would see a video, like every single time it was like 3 times better than before. So then I come see them and I'm like, oh wow, they've been practicing. The harmonies are tighter now. And then I see them again, like, oh shit, there's choreography. Yeah. Like you refined it.
We never had.
You never sat still, and I loved that.
That's what was cool about the act is like because it drew so well based on the concept. So it's like the show. I wish the show was fully tightened when we started, but we never really had that grace period.
Yeah,
which is great because
that's a great problem.
Yeah.
Because, and the other thing too, you could have, if you wanted, man, you could have just let them stay as is. Because the other thing I noticed is the 4 singers in the room that might have been at the concert would be the only ones that noticed, like, oh, well, I'm not sure.
100%.
Because the second
people don't care.
But not only that, the second they started singing, you can't even hear it. The crowd is singing every word that they are singing.
That's how we in the first year.
A tidal wave.
Yeah, the first year you kind of skated by because
and they weren't bad. I gotta say that they weren't bad.
We were good enough to do the show, the set list was perfect.
Yeah,
everything was picked out. Everything was strategy set list wise, and like you said, we had the set list was just one sing along after another. So
and nobody's expecting
right.
You're supposed to build to that kind of crowd and refine the show. You guys, it blew up so fast.
Yeah, it was just sort of a unique. It was just like a kind of a perfect.
I know too many people in our industry though who they never try to improve or they never try to like up the ante or keep. Well, you guys constantly improved that act, and you could have skated for 4 more years.
Oh yeah, but we're pretty hard on that. The guys
is that you? Are you watching it?
No, well, I'm the only non-musician.
But you know this world.
But I know when somebody's fucking flat, or you know what I mean. I could hear shit like.
You're a music guy,
but the guys knew, they were hard on themselves. Our sound guy is very good. He records most of the shows, and he'll take the 3 singers after a show and tell them what they fucked up.
Oh, that's great.
And because the guys know, like, the success of the band lies on the 3 guys singing. Like, the band's tight. The band's always going to be tight. Yeah. The musicians in the band are tight as fuck. There's never going to be an issue with the band.
Yeah.
It's always going to be the guys. Like, the guys, are they flat? Are they fucking up the dances and shit? Like, that's makes or breaks the show.
Right.
We connected with, they've had vocal lessons, some of them individually, over the years and blah blah blah. But going back to the beginning, like James, the one singer James, he never even was in a band before. Like he never even performed. Like when we did the first show, that was like his first show. It was like,
oh my God,
how is this? You know what I mean? So it was like,
holy cow.
We found James, he was in the singing competition at Bourbon Street. That's where I found James at. And he did a song, and I'm like, dude, this dude sounds like Justin Timberlake. And like, we put him in a band, and he's been in the band ever since. Matt was like a seasoned vet. So
Matt's been around. Yeah, he's great.
He was kind of the mentor, and then Tim got brought in. Where'd he come from? Fantastic.
He's very good, yeah.
He came through Dave Ambrose, the drummer, knew him through another side project. And it was just kind of a random, the way everybody came together, and we just got lucky with the three singers, to be honest with you. So
and they have good attitudes up there too, man. Because it's easy to, after a while, if you're successful, you don't come off like a jerk, and they don't come off like jerks.
And that was the cool part about the beginning is they didn't know anybody in the industry. They knew nothing about any whatever bullshit's going on at this club or that club or this band. And, you know what I mean? They came in, they didn't know shit, and it's great when it's you see a lot in our industry, like a lot of recycled, like this, this dude's in this band now and this band, that kind of shit.
Yeah.
It was nice. And to be honest with you, every time we do a band, some of the dudes are in other bands throughout our little thing, but we usually try to get somebody new into the scene. You're trying
to pick right off the tree, huh?
Usually singers. Like we usually try to use new singers.
Oh no,
that kind of thing.
Should I retire at this point? Have I been at it too long?
Yeah, we couldn't use you.
You've been around.
You would have been great in the Motown band, though.
Yeah,
yeah. You would have
I had to do. What's funny is I had to do. Some client asked for a boy band set out of us.
Well, you can do it. I mean, I know you can do it.
That was hilarious. Yeah. I had to, so we had to, all of a sudden, they gave me these 4 singers, and all of a sudden, I'm all wearing white. And I'm doing, and it's funny. For that.
Wait, you did, is that the Park West thing?
Yeah.
I heard about this.
God, that was hilarious. I'm like, what? Yeah. And they sprung it on me like 2 weeks before.
I heard about it.
Did you? Yeah. I'm like, and it's a funny thing is, I mean, I don't decide anything, but I remember I already, in my regular band, I had to learn a whole different new 90s set already for that show, and it was 2 weeks away.
Yeah.
And then when that call came, I did wonder, like, isn't there like a boy band?
To be honest with you, me and Glenn have actually, I think we've thought about you. It's like we were in a pinch for one of the guys, for real.
And I had my thing going on, and it would have been a treat to in some capacity, but life's been busy and it's been good, I appreciate you you're the reason I end up back at Bourbon Street here and there, and it's been fun. Bourbon Street feels like home,
It's a one way or another, whether bands play there still or don't play there still, there's still a lot of roots there for a lot of bands.
It feels like home every time I pop in there.
But unfortunately, the way things unfold, and some bands are still play there, some don't. Maybe there's not to say, I'll never say any band won't ever play there again or anything like that. It's just the way the times go and whatever the fuck happens.
You give everybody a fair shake, though. That's the thing, I mean, we had a weird issue that happened with us, is that at least the corporate band, the Final Say thing, started out as mainly a club thing, and then they were sometimes using my name because of the band I was in before.
Yeah.
And then that worked just fine, and then all of a sudden, in 2 years, we were unavailable for clubs. Because the corporate thing worked out.
Once you're out of the club scene for a minute, dude, you go away.
Yes, and all of a sudden, 2.5, 3 years later, we tried interjecting back, and we couldn't get the crowd. No. And it's like, Bourbon Street was one of the places where I remember, like, I was here to a packed room every time I performed here with either Timepiece or Final Say. And then when we came back, I'm like, we're not packing this room.
Yeah. It's hard, man.
And you start to realize, like, they already, like, in 2.5 years, they've forgotten,
You know how many bands I've seen that just... It's hard.
Yeah,
it's hard
tricky.
It's hard to maintain. And the cool thing is, in my time span of Bourbon Street and stuff, I actually got to see pre-Facebook and then post-Facebook. So, as far as marketing the shows goes, I was halfway through my stint at Bourbon is when me and Dan Davis started the Bourbon Facebook page, like, drunk one night.
And that was when Facebook was still pretty brand new.
Yeah, it wasn't like a thing. It was just like, oh, let's start. In fact, I think my brother started it, and then like we took it over or something. But It was just like a drunk, me and Dan Davis being drunk, like, oh, let's start Bourbon a Facebook page. Like, but now there's like, it's like 50,000 people on it, and it's like our main source of promoting.
Yeah, let's get into that too, man, because now that we've kind of, the money idea of the boy band thing, which branched off into some other groups. Because now how many groups do you have under that umbrella? Because then you built other groups.
Yeah, so the boy band, we started, okay, so first, just real quick, when we started the boy band night, me and Glenn Hootie started a company called The Right Stuff Entertainment.
Nice.
And that houses the bands. So, all the bands are under that, like, whatever you want to call it. That's just our company name. So we started the boy band night, and then like a year later, we did the hair band night, and then we did the country night, and then we did the Ron Burgundies, and then we did...
Describe the Ron Burgundies.
The Ron Burgundies are actually in Ed Warm from Joe's on Weed collaborated on when we created that.
Okay.
It's basically a yacht rock band, but it's yacht rock. We call it yacht rock plus like the tagline's like yacht rock and softcore rock, 60s, 70s, 80s.
And most people totally know the yacht rock thing because that was a whole movement. But for anybody that doesn't know that,
it's
for our listeners.
It's like it's Hall & Oates, it's Toto, it's Fleetwood Mac, it's Kenny Loggins,
right?
Michael McDonald. No bullshit. It's my favorite fucking music.
It's so good.
It's a lot of people's favorite music.
Yeah.
That band, the Ron Burgundies, is my favorite band. And if you asked anybody in our circle, they would all say that's their favorite band.
It's something about that stuff. Back in the day, I opened up for the Little River Band.
We do Little River Band.
Do you? But what's interesting with that music is, and I learned a lesson that day, is like when I opened up for them, I remember thinking like, yeah, it's so soft rockish. When you hear that stuff live, it's still good anyway. That's my
some of those
shit
bands
too.
Are like we do a lot of Steely Dan.
Best bands, yeah. But I mean, all of them, all of the music and the harmonies and the chords.
There's so much going on.
Oh, it is great music. It's
Every
great
sound
music.
guy, like they always want to like check the system with their fucking Steely Dan, because it's like the most like
there's
crisp,
a lot going on,
perfect music.
Yeah. I got to go see that group, man. So the Ron Burgundies,
they're just fun because it's also a comedy act. Involved.
You made a shtick out of it, kind of. What are they doing up there?
They just play the fucking part. It's like they were in Anchorman as characters, but they're not in Anchorman. They're on stage doing yacht rock. It's not in any way connected to Anchorman.
Yeah.
Or Ron Burgundy, the band.
But the era is what you're doing.
It's just the era and just the general feel. But the guys that, and these guys existed as another band already. And when we started talking about this concept, I'm like, I fucking know exactly who to call right now. And I called this dude, and it was Fitz. He was the singer. And I'm like, I told him what's going on. He gathered up the dudes, and keep in mind, no bullshit. The band, the musicians in that band are some of the best musicians on the fucking.
And
South
you have
side.
to be to play that stuff because
they are so ridiculously good.
That's good
players.
Yeah,
and that's really what it's. I mean, it's just a fun show.
But again, man, I got to tell you, there's certain styles of music, and this is across the freaking board. A concept can be one thing, but then the tightness of a band is another thing, and there are a lot of concepts that can get away.
That's where
the fact that you care about the quality of the show is everything.
That's all we care about.
Because then you have no weak link. If you have the great concept and the tightness, some people go with one or the other. There are also a lot of tight bands out there that have no shtick or no show. You know what I mean? And then they're not doing well.
Right.
Then you got the shticky guys, but they're not even that good.
We don't fuck around with like
that's good.
The most important thing is like the product sounding fucking we don't do any tracks in any of the bands.
Yeah.
Everything's got to be live, and everything's like all the musicians are just just top notch. It's just because to be it's Bourbon Street, and I'm not going to put anything less quality on stage at Bourbon Street, because Bourbon Street for us is like the top of the line until you get to like the mid-level, like the Vic or the Congress Theater. Like Bourbon is the top of that thing, and then you move on to a mini theater type thing. So
all right, so then, dude.
But there's 6 total bands.
Oh, so let's say it again. We got the boy band.
Yeah, it's the boy band night, the hair band night, the country night, the Ron Burgundies, Motown Nation, and then American Pie is our newest one. Who just they've only had 3 shows because they played, and then they actually played the week. Their first show, no bullshit, was like boy band night's first show at Bourbon Street.
So it was huge.
There was like 1,000 fucking people.
Great.
Now, part of that is these guys are all from the neighborhood. Mm-hmm. So they're like a perfect Bourbon Street band because it's dudes from the neighborhood, from Beverly, Mount Greenwood, Southside Chicago guys.
Nice.
But they're fucking amazing musicians. And basically, it's an Americana band. So we're doing...
Is it like a Tom
Mumford?
Petty? Okay.
No, it's more like Mumford, Dave... Bodines. There's so many. But we're also some of the new stuff like Strumbellas, Lumineers, Head in the Heart is all. So it's like old and new. Like it'll go all the way back to the 70s, all the way up to like literally like new shit coming out right now. So, but there's a violin, a killer violin player, a female who also sings. So it's acoustic guitar. Who's
a violinist?
Hannah. Do you know Hannah Watson?
No, nice though.
She's been in a few country bands in the scene, but she's unbelievable.
Oh, cool.
Acoustic guitar plus electric. It's another big band. It's a 7-piece. The one dude plays the trumpet on some of the songs. I mean, it's another one of those bands like the Ron Burgundies, like the yacht rock stuff.
Yeah,
where like it's really just about the tightness of the band.
Yeah. That's
awesome. So they're like we started them, and they literally played the last weekend Bourbon Street was open before COVID. So they've been, and then we did one show at Joe's, and it was a snowstorm, and then so like they had the one great show, and then it's just been like bullshit, and we're hoping to get them in November at Bourbon with like a limited capacity situation.
Yeah,
there is a date on hold, but I'm fucking excited about that band. Like they're so good, but we just can't do anything with it right now.
How hard? Obviously, it's not hard now to manage 6 bands because nothing's going on really. But I mean, how hard was it for you to juggle?
It's
that?
A lot.
It's a lot because you're booking them and you're managing.
Well,
them.
the good thing is, my partner Glenn.
Yes.
And
shout out to Glenn Hootie.
Yeah, dude. We're just good together because he's very good at what he does, and I'm good at a different aspect of the company, but he's very good. We tackle a lot of that stuff together. He handles a lot of the booking stuff, mainly just so there's no conflict of interest with Bourbon Street and stuff a lot of the time. So I kind of try to stay out of some of that stuff.
That's smart, yeah.
Just because I never want anything to get weird with Bourbon Street. So he'll handle a lot of that stuff, and he handles. To be honest, he actually handles a lot of the boy band stuff internally because he's in the band. He's the bass player.
Yeah.
So he handles a lot of the, stuff with the band on site, and he's super more involved with the boy band night than I am. Now.
He's a good dude.
Yeah,
he's a good dude.
Well, and you've known Glenn probably longer than I have, to be honest.
He's a great guy.
Yeah,
great
guy. It is. You know how it is with if we were in a regular year, we had a lot of shows just like everybody else, and having 6 bands, and and then it's like this dude can't do this show, and a lot of it is just troubleshooting. That's what we do. We troubleshoot, and we're like the father of children. Basically.
Yeah, that is true, man. I mean, I can't imagine because I feel that way just being a band leader. But somebody, when you're running all the bands, that's when.
But I'll tell you, if I am gonna pat ourselves on the back for anything, which I hate doing, but me and Glenn are very good at troubleshooting.
That's great.
Like, I told you. Well, actually, I don't even want to talk about it.
but stuff comes up.
I mean, shit'll come up like the day of or the night before. Like the singer can't sing tomorrow,
right?
That kind of shit.
And you gotta that's a balancing act.
We're good at figuring shit out like last second.
Oh, that's huge, man. That's huge. Yeah. Well, we're gonna talk. We'll take the eye blink now for the audience, so you guys will get an eye blink, and then we're gonna talk about what we've done since during this COVID thing, and then I'm jumping into your modeling career, man.
Yeah,
we're getting into that. So here is your eye blink, people. Bam, and boom, we are back. That was your eye blink, folks. That was like a whatever. It was a second for you guys, but for us, it was 17 minutes. Man, we went out. We played. Racquetball right here.
I fucking love racquetball.
Do you really?
I used to play a lot of racquetball.
No way.
Yeah.
I never tried it.
Did
you play handball too then?
No. My dad was a huge racquetball player.
Racquetball seems hard,
And then when I was in college, we played a ton of racquetball.
Really?
Yeah, at Northern, yeah.
It seems hard.
It is hard.
What was your...
But it's fun.
Cause you were like... Football was my whole life.
Baseball, basketball.
Baseball, basketball.
Yeah. I mean, I love football, but... playing wise, I was basketball, baseball.
Okay,
yeah.
I was wondering. All right, good enough.
I'm gonna a little fun fact.
What's that?
I'm gonna in a couple weeks post. I came across this VHS that my dad had, and it was so back in high school. I played against D Wade for three years because we're both I went to Oaklawn, he went to Richards.
Okay,
it's rival. We're rival high schools. So I knew him growing up pretty well, like his brother and everything else.
Yeah.
But there was it was my senior year. He was a junior, and it was the game of the week on like the cable access channel. But like there's announcers, and it's they show the game. And back in the day, they used to show the game of the week on the local cable channel. That bullshit.
Yeah.
So we found this VHS, and my buddy Will at Bourbon Street converted it to MP4. And the best part is, like, I fucking whooped ass that game. So I had the most. I had like 25, and D Wade had like 22. And at the end, it shows like the top scores, and it's like it's me and then D Wade. So
you gotta post that.
Yeah, I'm gonna put it up in a couple weeks, and I'm gonna tag D Wade and see if I can get him to respond. I'm gonna talk shit.
Maybe you can change up careers now, man.
Hey.
Do you know any of those dudes? That's the weird. So before we talk about where life has gone, that is a weird thing about the entertainment world is you have to work with like sometimes the talented people are the crazy people.
Yeah.
And I'm a performer, that.
Yeah.
But I try to be crazy in a healthy way.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like there was one dude I was working with, one of the best singers I was ever working with, and he could have been a star in the area.
Yeah.
And he just didn't quite have his head together. And I remember one day. He like went to the park and had he was just shooting hoops with his buddies, and we had a huge recording day going on, and we were going to work with some major producers, and he's like, man, I don't know, I think maybe I'm going to quit. And I'm like, quit like tomorrow, blah, blah. And he's like, yeah, but man, I was really playing good at the park, and I wonder if I could go pro.
Oh, okay.
you hear that, and you're like, where's that? And you got to deal with these personalities.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
They're not always that far.
Yeah,
crazy.
I mean it's.
You get surprised what you're dealing with, though. And
once you get into the creative, stuff, industry stuff, like there could be some weird. Sometimes drugs are involved too.
Oh, that's the worst too, man. No, that's the worst. When that gets, because then it starts, warping who they are and what they can do.
I mean,
dude, I've seen it ruin people.
We skipped over like a good chunk of time at Bourbon Street.
Oh yeah, well I want to get into the modeling too, but
we skipped over that because I was drinking that entire time and very little memory of most of what happened.
That is true because anytime I've done shows there and I see you there now, I feel a little bit like I'm not. You don't make it like I'm pulling teeth.
Yeah, right.
But it's a little tricky to get you to do a shot with.
Well,
me,
so that's the segue to the modeling. Because
is that where this went?
Well, yeah, because once I quit, I like had a couple. Probably nights where I was like fucking out of my mind, drunk, and shit happened, and finally just kind of clicked out of doing it.
And was it
drinking
more,
so much?
Was it more like I'm getting, come on now, I'm getting, past that. I'm getting older for that stuff, or was it?
Yeah, it was like I was approaching my 30s.
Yeah.
It was probably like 29, maybe 30, and it just one day. It just became enough, I guess, and I just quit drinking. And I'm not talking like I was alcoholic.
No, but we all need.
But we drank a lot.
Yeah, but we all need those. That's the thing. There's something about that one. Those mornings when you wake up and you're like,
that was the worst. Dude.
No,
yeah,
no, like that. That's what's.
But I I don't have any like a lot of. It
was good times.
It was great times, and a lot of the relationships were built during that period.
Yeah,
most of them were, and a lot of great ideas came out of those episodes.
No, man.
So,
but talk to me about this because this is I never knew where this went. You know, as long as I've known you, you're doing what you're doing. We talked about the story; it's a great story, man. But then all of a sudden, I blinked, so I missed it all. I blinked, and then I'm like, he's a model. What the hell happened? How did it start?
I think I think I had there was like one drunk episode at Bourbon and like the owner like it was basically like you need to fucking stop or you need to go away kind of. So somehow it just I quit drinking. And when I say quit drinking, like I haven't. It's not like I haven't had a drink in 10 years.
No, but you barely drink.
Very,
I can attest
very
to that.
Yeah. I quit drinking for the most part, and started getting into dieting and just cleaning up my diet, and then just really hitting the gym. And like I got obsessed with. I wanted to compete in like the men's physique, like bodybuilding.
Oh, okay.
So I started doing that first.
How did you even catch a wind of that?
Well, because the gym I work out at is called USA Gym, and it's a bodybuilder gym. There's a lot of competitors that work out there, so I was always around it.
Okay.
And there's some big motherfuckers that work out there, and it's owned by a professional bodybuilder, and it's just the vibe there. So it was always something like I was like, you want to do it, but it's such a hard. Like I was so small, like skinny, like so I just, I just started getting into it and working out. My buddy Jason was training me, and he was like a big dude, and started eating. Right.
So for you, were you focusing more on just trying to get really cut, or were you trying to bulk up? What were
I was trying to put on size.
Okay.
Because I was so scrawny.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because you're still lean.
I had abs because I was so scrawny.
Mm-hmm.
But I never, I wanted to be bigger. I wanted to be bigger arms, bigger chest, and that whole thing, a back, and all this stuff. So like I started doing that stuff.
To the chopper, like
yeah. It was like I just
and then worst Arnold Schwarzenegger.
I didn't even know what you. I didn't even know what it was.
It was that bad. But go on, your abs.
I knew what it was.
Yeah.
But it was just, I just started going down that path, and I became like obsessed about it. Like that's when I really quit drinking, when I was like focusing on actual competition.
So you competed? Did you end up competing?
Oh, I competed. I've done like fucking 6-7 bodybuilding shows.
Okay, so then after that, then what? How does that segue?
So
to
at the same point in time, when I started cleaning up everything and getting my body right, at that same time, I went. I had dicked around with some. A friend of mine had me like I did a couple romance novel covers, like randomly.
Okay.
Like,
how does that even happen?
I don't even know.
Okay.
Like somebody I knew and blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden I was on the cover of like 2 or 3 romance novels.
Okay.
Like, and I'm like, all right. I didn't really make much money off of it. It was cool.
Yeah.
And then, so I wasn't with an agency or anything at that point. And I did a couple more things like that just through, my friend this and that. And then eventually I went into the agency here in Chicago, like one of the better agencies for whatever. And, you go in and it's like an open call. They have them every week. You can go in and meet with an agent, and they'll tell you to fuck off, or they'll be like, hey, we'll sign you and blah, blah, blah. So I signed with them. I think it was in 2013,
well, describe
2012.
Now we're getting to a world I know freaking nothing about. So you walk in, what's going on? Did you walk in with like photos in hand, or what?
No, I didn't really have anything.
So you walked in,
and they really don't want it. What I learned was they don't want to see your fucking photos, because any photos that you have are probably garbage, because they're not done by a top tier photographer.
So walk me through the whole thing. You walk into the building, and then what happens?
You walk in and you're like, hey, I'm here for an open call, and then you sit, and then you wait for the agent to meet with you. So I basically sat there, and then the head of the men's division, I met with them, and
how does that meeting go?
The modeling industry is super fucking superficial, obviously.
Sure.
They're very straightforward.
Yeah.
They're going to tell you if your fucking face is fucking wrong, if you're not tall enough, if you're overweight, if you're blah, 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 blah. Like, it's very straightforward.
Yeah.
And so, we just, it was just,
did he automatically, was it a good thing, or was he like, okay, well, here, do this and this and this and
like,
this?
I walked out of, like, they signed me, like, and now being signed to a modeling agency it's cool, but it's not, it really doesn't mean shit either.
Okay.
Because you don't make any money unless you get booked by a fucking client. Mm-hmm. They can sign 1 million guys and just sit and do nothing, and it means nothing. So I signed with them, and basically when you're you're like a new face basically to the agency. So they sent me out to Florida to shoot with this dude Scott, who is known for like taking a new face guy and like getting them some good stuff to start with, just a little portfolio. It's just basically some basic pictures of me in like commercial settings, so you can go to Sears and be like, here's Kenny for your catalog to wear the suits. And
so when you're doing that, because you hadn't had, you did you didn't have a lot of modeling experience.
Not zero, yeah.
Right. So when you go out to Florida and you're working for this guy, what does that seem like? Is he literally telling you how to?
I paid that guy. I paid my way to Florida.
Oh, really?
I paid for these pictures.
Okay.
I paid him.
Yeah. So when you're doing that, is he coaching? Because it's everything. Yeah. I mean, you got to make the right face. People don't know how to make a face.
It's hard. It was very hard. He's good because he's not an asshole. He's very nice. Like some dudes, some photographers are fucking assholes. Some are cool.
It's like having a bad director of a movie or something.
It could be very. It could get sketchy a lot.
So for that first one, I would imagine, like, is he literally telling you, because without any experience, you want to know how to look, like even expressions, like is he helping you?
Yeah, a lot of that, all that.
What is the first golden thing for? Because and then I imagine everyone's face is different. What works for them, like, and
the bigger issue is like the clothes.
Sure.
Like at that point, like I didn't dress very well. I didn't have any style. Mm-hmm. So like I brought some stuff, but he hated everything I brought. But he had clothes.
Yeah.
And the one main thing that came up for me that came out of that first photo shoot was sort of like, it's when I switched to like skinny jeans, and when I switched to, just kind of caring about fashion a little bit more.
Yeah.
Like wearing the right clothes, basically. I learned from that dude.
Wow.
Doing just that.
The reason I keep asking about the whole facial expression thing is because you see photos, or you even see stars, movie stars, when they're doing the red carpet, and I've been told that, like, they're told like what their good face is and how they do it. I've had to do so many. I'm not a model, but because of my line of work, I had to do so many photo shoots. Yeah. I got a good smile, and every time they say, "Oh, look serious," I just don't do it because nobody was there to show me. So it's like, I would imagine that's got to be a whole thing. Like, you probably know.
Now I do. It takes a long time, and I shot with a fucking fuckload of photographers and some really, really good ones.
What was the golden moment to get you to, like, okay, now I know, here's my whatever, Kenny Skull?
It's just really, I think it's just a repetition thing.
Yeah.
And just.
But are they literally coaching that too?
No.
Okay,
but some dudes don't say shit. Like,
really?
They won't tell you anything. Like, some dudes will, some dudes won't. A lot of the times they won't, but, like, I've done it so many photo shoots that I know I could feel my face in certain positions and know what it looks like on the without seeing it. You know what I mean? It's weird.
That's amazing. No,
it's sense. Weird though, it's just weird.
Is there? Would you say, now that you're in the thick of it, and then I want to back up and keep walking from the beginning in, but when you're in the thick of it, are there almost, it's like being an actor? Are there like 4 or 5 things that they're going to ask for this look, or that? Is there like 5? Typical.
Yeah, well, it depends what you're doing. If it's for Sears, or if it's for Kohl's or JCPenney or some shit.
Yeah, what are they asking for?
Well, that's very just e-com commercial
smile and look like a friendly.
It's smiley. Like I did the Kmart thing last Christmas.
Okay.
And it's very like cheesy.
I know. I bought like 14 sweaters because of your ad.
I was wearing a sweater.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, you know what? I'm looking at this, and the dude makes me want to buy.
But
a
it
sweater.
was super, and it's weird because that's usually not what I'm known as more of like a body editorial guy that it's like naked basically. Sure. I've never been very Sears.
Your direction is be naked.
Yeah. I've never been very Sears, which I would love to switch and be known for that because that's where the money is, to be honest. Not right now because everything's fucked, but...
Okay, but so that's one thing, the happy, smiley guy. And then... what are the other like just basic? Because that's what I imagine when you're an actor in a movie or something, and they're saying, you're devastated, or okay, you're this.
Well, I mean, if you get into, and not that I've done Versace or anything like that, but I've shot with the photographer that shoots the Versace ads,
okay,
or Calvin Klein, Ralph Lauren.
Okay, so what are those guys asking for?
That's never smiling. That's just very. It's.
And do they direct you like a movie though? Are they saying like, all right,
some of them?
Yeah. What are they?
Some of them.
Do you get these words, smolder, or your sister died, or they like your dog's sick?
There's one guy in L.A. who's probably the best photographer, like one of the best in the world, to be honest. And this dude is shot with every fucking. He was like J-Lo's photographer when she first started on, as he was the tour photographer for her when she first started. Like, he's shot some of the most famous photos. Oh, and a fun fact, real quick. Yeah. The first guy I shot with in Florida, he shot the NSYNC album cover that has the iconic one, their first one.
Full circle, man.
Right? Isn't that fucking hilarious?
That is hilarious.
Yeah. I forgot about that. You know which one I'm talking about.
Was he changing film? And he's like, man, if somebody
I didn't even know about it. I didn't even know about it.
Now the truth coming. He was changing his film. He's like, if somebody would like make a tribute to those dudes, they'd make a mint.
I found out about it years later. Yeah. He like posted. It was like the anniversary of it on his. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me right now?
That's
but like this dude, like in LA, like he's like he gets shit out of you that you never even thought you can do because he's like he'll be a jagoff to you.
Try to explain. Let me hear. What like
it's like he will fucking yell at you. Like every time I shoot with this guy, there's always a moment during the shoot where it's a full on like fuck. Like I'll be like fuck you, and I'm like I'm leaving. I don't give a fuck. It gets like fucking crazy.
I would have never thought this. Really.
He's nuts.
What is happening? What is he telling you that's pissing you off so much?
It's just because he's never like everything you do is wrong, and then you're a piece of shit. But, that's how you feel when you like. But it's like he wants you to feel like a piece of shit because the face you make when you think you're a piece of shit is like a different face than you've ever made before.
Wow. Okay.
And I don't even know if he's doing it on purpose, but I think he's
an
somehow.
Artist, yeah.
But he's like I said, this dude he's got some very iconic stuff, and he's literally shot every fucking everybody from
I don't know why
Brad Pitt to fucking everybody.
To me, it would be like just so much funnier if it was the Coles dude that was yelling.
No, those guys.
I said, "Smile, damn it!
Yeah.
Smile, you're happy."
Those guys,
you son of a bitch.
Those are the easiest. Like it takes like 5 seconds to shoot a Sears
In my mind,
catalog.
that would be the funny shit.
But
this is Coles, damn it! We will crush you.
Yeah, I wish it would. If Coles would go edgy like that, I would be fucking on top of the world. But they want to fucking
back me up then, or let's go back. So you walk in, you get signed. You booked the photo session in Florida. All right. Well, talk to me about the whole process.
They send me out. They send me out there, but it's standard. Like you pay for your shit.
Sure.
And when you're getting started, so what happens is, over the years, you do in the beginning you kind of pay your dues a little bit, and then. I'm at the point now where I'm friends with a lot of photographers, like the dude I'm talking about in LA.
Nice.
Some of the major guys in New York, where it could just be like, hey, I'm going to be in New York. You want to shoot tomorrow? Like, that's where I'm at now.
Oh, that's great.
And back in the day, they wouldn't even fucking answer. They wouldn't even talk to me.
Talk to me about like year one of this whole thing though. Like what happens after the Florida shoot? What do you do? What's the journey?
That was basically that very beginning photo shoot is just like gives your agent some stuff to push you to the client
right.
and be like, here's our new guy Kenny and blah 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 blah, and it's good looking stuff. Not you can't just go to any guy with a camera. Like once you get if you're trying to get to the higher level shit, like that's what I was saying. If you go into an agency open call and you shot with your friend on his new Canon that he bought, like they're gonna tell you to fuck off with those pictures. They don't want to see them. You'll learn who the major player photographers are and who can make or break you. You want to shoot with certain people because certain people can make you or break you.
Would you say then, like phase one of it is really just you're just trying to get in front of that lens to get the shots that they can use to sell you?
Yeah.
But then once that's obtained, is it kind of just a waiting game for you, or is there are there any other hoops you have to jump through at the beginning?
It's a little different now because when I first started, it was before Instagram.
Okay.
And Instagram has really changed the modeling industry a lot.
Really?
Yeah. So, like, it's kind of given the power to individual people over agents, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. So if they see that you've got some numbers.
They don't even, like, I used to walk into a casting with, like, a book with your photo, in a real book.
Yeah.
And then it turned into, like, an iPad with your pics on it. And now it's just, like, they'll pull up your Instagram.
Wow.
And then they want to see how many followers you got. Like, that's what's important.
Yeah.
So.
Is it good or
different
bad?
Game.
What do you think?
I don't think it's good or bad. It's just the way it is.
Sure.
I mean, when I was in New York, so I lived in New York.
Yeah, let me talk about that. You moved out there.
Yeah, so I went out there. I was signed here, and then I also signed with an agency in New York.
Okay.
And they, if you sign with an agency in New York, they want you to be in New York. So I said, all right, I'll try that.
How long were you out there?
About 6 months.
How'd you like it?
It was a huge turning point of my life, basically, because I lived at home when I left. Mm-hmm. Went to New York. So from living at home to I'm in New York, never been to New York, I don't fucking know what the fuck's going on. Like, it was very stressful, but it was good for me. And like I said before, like I went out there and I was going to stay in the model apartment, which is a fucking nightmare. It was in Brooklyn. I'm 30 years old at this point, 31. Uh-huh. I go to the agency, from the airport to the agency, and it's like, here's the key, blah 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 blah. There's other dudes living in there. It's like bunk beds and shit. It's a fucking shithole. It's not luxury shit here.
Oh man.
So it's like, I'm in Manhattan. My agency's on Broadway in like 25th. It's basically, if you ever heard of the 4040 Club, that Jay-Z's club in Manhattan.
But
my agency in New York is like directly across the street from 4040 Club.
Okay.
It's like Flatiron District, where that building's like shaped like a triangle. But so I'm there, and then I take a cab to Brooklyn, and I go into this fucking model apartment, and it's like 6 dudes smoking weed on the couch. Everything's trash. They're all South Africans.
Really?
Everybody's South African except for me.
No kidding.
And they're like 21, and I'm 30, and I'm like, all right. And I got like 2 suitcases. I'm like, I have no fucking clue what the fuck's going on. No, like, one dresser drawer to use, and
6 months. You were there for 6 months.
No, I was there. I was in the model apartment for 24 hours. I got so fucking lucky that a friend of mine from Bourbon Street had a friend in Brooklyn who was looking for a fucking roommate for the summer, and he connected me. I just remember, I'm like, and I don't remember how the fuck it came about, but I'm like, I need to get the fuck out of here. Like, I will either go home or I need to find some. There was no way I was staying in that place.
At least one more drawer. Give me a second drawer, damn it.
It was so uncomfortable. Like, one bathroom.
Yeah. 6 dudes.
One fucking bathroom.
Yeah.
And it was a filth.
So what is the all right, so you escaped just like freaking Alcatraz. You got out.
I pulled out of my ass within 24 hours. I found a new place to live for the same rent.
So talk to me about this then. When you're out there, what is the day to day? What do they have you doing for 6 months?
Well, that's the weird thing. So basically, I had worked out a deal with Bourbon Street, so I was still doing bourbon remote. You know, I was still booking, keeping up everything.
Nice
from New York. So, when I was basically, you're in New York, you just my day to day is like you go to castings and you go to the agency and you go shoot a bunch of pictures with a bunch of. The cool thing about New York is all the big name photographers are all right there. Cool. Like they all live there. Everybody shoots there. And I had a really good agency, so I was building my portfolio. I photographed with all these ridiculously amazing photographers.
Nice.
For the whole time, and just sort of you're just building yourself. You know?
So that was training camp too, because you learned something probably the first time. Every time you're working
but I wasn't making any money.
Yeah, but so it's definitely a
this
training.
Is still just you're basically just going through this process, and you're building a portfolio up, but you're also hoping something. Because the one thing here's why I stay in the modeling game is because I never know. You never know when some fucking huge thing's going to happen.
Yeah,
I mean, honestly, it could just be like tomorrow. It's like, okay, Ralph Lauren wants you to do this thing, and you're going to make $500,000.
Yeah,
like I've seen it happen to guys that I know.
Wow,
and it's just like you can be doing jack shit for 8 years and have hardly any gigs, and then all of a sudden, like a massive thing comes across. You know, if you don't stay in the game, that chance isn't going to be there.
And you're smart enough to keep these other plates spinning at the same time. So you've got so many facets to your career, which is good.
Yeah, and I've so many things are going on, but ironically, COVID has managed to shut down every single one of them.
Yeah, it's nuts, man.
Like some people are still doing okay, but it's like every avenue that I'm involved in has been fucking fucked.
Oh, it's nuts, man. It's nuts.
Which is fucking nuts. Yeah. But
I still want to keep going. What happens after that 6 months? So then you come back home?
I came back. So I stayed out there for a while. I came back home, and it might not even have been 6 months, to be honest with you. It might have been less than that. I came home, and then when I came home, I still was doing New York. You know, I'd still go for a couple days every month,
just for shoots or for casting.
Yeah, just to stay in the mix. You know, because if you're not there ever, like the agents. They're not gonna pay.
When you say casting, what are you doing? What is that? Like where you're just meeting people and seeing?
So when you're doing castings in New York, and going back to what I was just saying is like I was going to castings for major shit. Mm-hmm. Like I was going to Ralph Lauren's office for a casting on fucking Fifth Avenue. The real Ralph Lauren, like the real deal shit.
That's it. Yeah.
Like I'm sitting there with dudes I recognize from Ralph Lauren ads, like waiting to go meet the creative director. Cool. It's just basically it's a casting. It's an interview. Like they see guys, you go and there's a bunch of dudes sitting in a hallway waiting to go see this guy for 2 minutes, and you one by one you go through, and then they decide who they want. Like I've been to castings for major shit, like major Versace ads. I've been on hold for big stuff, but
nice.
I've never had like a massive campaign or anything like that happen.
Yeah,
but it's just
cool, man.
It's there's not a whole ton of those types of gigs, you know. So it's just I feel like you just got to. It's just like a timing thing. Like
now that you've been doing it for a minute, though. A couple print ads or a couple ads. Some gigs still have popped up, or
I've done a bunch of I've had some really cool stuff.
Yeah.
Like I said, I've done Carson's ain't even in business no more, but I've done Carson's. I've done Kmart.
Yeah.
I shot for Oakley for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But what I did for Oakley was you never saw my face. I was like the body. I did all their clothing, like.
Okay.
Their ski stuff.
They modeled
their
a
golf.
Mannequin after you.
I was basically Oakley's mannequin for their website.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
But it was a great gig.
Yeah,
it was a very, very well-paying gig. So.
And I asked you this off the mic already, but like the thought of like going anywhere outside, because you do get those models who are like, I want to act eventually, but that's not really calling your name to do.
No, I never. My very first gig I ever booked was actually a commercial for a department store called Gordman's, which is like It's not in Illinois.
I've seen
but
them.
it's big. It's a major department store.
Yeah.
It's all over the place. It's just not in Illinois.
When I travel for gigs, I see them. Yeah.
Yeah. So I shot this commercial, and I had a line, and it was the first gig I ever booked. And it's on YouTube somewhere. It was like we were dressed as like a SWAT team. It was like we shot it at an airplane hangar in the middle of like Indiana.
Cool.
And it was like the longest day of my life. You know how those shoots are.
Go long, yeah.
I think it was like a
16-hour
shoot.
Did you get to say get to the chopper?
No.
Oh.
It was like that though. It was basically.
Do you remember your line?
It was something rewards at Gordman's or something, and I flashed the reward card.
Yes.
But it was like a lot of cut scenes of like me tying my arm. You tie your boots,
like
and then,
Rambo prepping.
Yeah, then you fucking clip the belt, and then you put your shirt down. And then it was G rewards at Gordman's. That was my line.
There it is.
Yeah.
Oh, see, I felt something when you delivered that, man.
Yeah.
See, you could be in the next Goodfellas.
It was fucking cool. And then it was like a legit like commercial, and it paid well. And I booked that early on, so I was like, oh shit, if this is going to be something regular, I'm going to be killing it. But then you book something, and then it's like, you don't book nothing for like 5 months.
Sure.
And, you know, it's very weird.
This is what I dig, and this is what I want the listeners to walk away with, man. You guys, this is what it's all about, because I know actors. You know, I don't really know many models, man. You're like the only model I actually know personally, but there's something about the people that put all their eggs in the one basket, and then what ends up happening is if it doesn't fly, then they're working at Starbucks.
Yeah.
You know, nothing against Starbucks, but that might not be the ideal.
Starbucks.
I love Starbucks. Dude, the next show you're gonna get some Robbie coffee. You're like, the stuff. You know, my wife's got me on this great different beans from around the world. It's gonna change your life.
I love coffee, so
it's gonna change your life. But anyway, you get the people that just put all their eggs into the one basket, and then that's the problem. Then they end up, I mean, you know how many people have called the company that I work for, and they were like in the top 10 like American Idols and things like that, and now they're working at Starbucks. So the fact that the one thing that puts you over the top is the fact that you're doing the modeling thing, but you're not one of those dudes that is just modeling and he's waiting for just that to hit. And if it doesn't, he's screwed. You're booking bands. You're forming your own bands. You stayed in tight. I mean, I love the fact that you kept in for a family thing too, but also for a lucrative business when the world's normal. Like that's a tribute to you, because that's what's going to keep you probably satisfied in a well-rounded way too. But also keeps you working. You're not a slave to modeling.
No, dude, it's modeling is like such a fucking minute thing of all the stuff I have going on.
But you're not even a slave. You're not a slave to being just a booking guy, and you're not a slave to just. You know what I mean? Like
I've learned.
That's what I love about what you've done.
Going into like when it still goes back to not drinking and stuff at Bourbon Street,
really,
and kind of chilling on all that stuff because. What it also gave me was a lot more time when you're not going to bed at 9 a.m. You know what I mean? From the night before, when you're actually like getting up early at like 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, and like, I was able to. That's when I was, able to start accomplishing and working on other stuff, and it was like,
wow, yeah.
When you're drinking at partying and your day is gone.
Yes.
It's like you wake up and then it's like you go back to work and you didn't get nothing done that day.
You're just trying to get through the damn day too. Yeah.
So it was like it all clicked, and like I said, New York was a turning point because I lived at home. I went to New York when I came while I was when I was getting ready to come home from New York is when me and my best friend got an apartment downtown Chicago, and we got my parents had to sign the lease for me because I was in New York still, so it was all set up. And then when I moved back home, I moved straight downtown. I never went back home, So then it was like a whole turning point to leaving there, sort of cleaning up my act in general, and. You spend some time in New York. If you've never been there, it really fucking slaps you in the fucking face, to be honest.
Especially if you're trying to make the career in New York.
Dude, it's just trying to navigate the daily grind of New York and just getting. And I lived in Brooklyn, so going from Brooklyn to Manhattan on the fucking subway every day, like really like hardened me a lot on like getting my shit together.
All right, let's do this now, because if you have a professional model on a show, then there's a shit that nobody gets to ask models. All right,
yeah,
like when you're talking about people are the whole world is obsessed. They look at dudes like you in print and they're like, what can my stomach look like that? Yeah. So what is your advice to the everyday Joe that might not have their time?
Well,
what is it?
You can go look in the fridge if you want. There's nothing in there.
Is that the thing?
There's eggs and chicken. That's it.
So all right. So what is that? Is that saying you're not really a carb guy?
No, I eat carbs. If you go in the cabinet, there's a bag of potatoes. But I mean, honestly,
but not potato chips.
No, not potato chips.
Right. Yeah. Let's get some fitness tips, man. What do you got?
The only tip is like just you fucking clean up your fucking act eating. Mm-hmm. That's it. You don't even have to fucking work out.
When you say clean up your act, are you saying like limit the carbs or certain carbs or sweets or what are you saying?
It's more for me. It's like I have like get rid of the sugar, that kind of shit. Like only drink water, coffee. You could drink coffee black, and that's it.
Yeah.
I mean, basically, like quit drinking. Fucking chicken, turkey, eggs, tuna, fucking plain baked potato.
There it is.
Or white rice, or just that's it, and you got to stick to it.
And then, are you one of those every 2 hour kind of? Yeah. So you have
2 to 3 hours,
6 meals.
I try.
And you've never done
5 to 7.
Okay. And is it always like the egg thing, or are you doing a protein powder ever?
Oatmeal with protein powder.
Okay.
Is my breakfast.
Yeah. So as soon as you wake up, that's what you have.
Oatmeal with protein, and coffee.
Do you have a typical meal number 2 that you're doing?
So I eat the protein oatmeal, have a coffee. I go to the gym, and then I bring I cook a baked potato in the microwave. And then I bring tuna, like they have the packets of tuna.
Yeah, man.
And I eat those packets of tuna a couple times a day with a baked potato, plain. And then when I get home, I'll cook a chicken breast with green beans and a baked potato or a turkey burger or some bullshit.
How often do you work out then? How often are you doing that?
6 to 7 days.
Okay. How long are you going in there?
It's an hour, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not crazy.
Yeah.
It's not.
So it's really just living right.
No, yeah. I mean,
you don't have to go insane.
I mean, I try to train, like with a professional athlete mentality.
Okay.
I treat it as it's part of my fucking job.
And it is.
I mean, and the same thing with eating. Like, I treat it like it's all just part of the gig.
It's funny because it seems like, some people say like, oh man, nobody has that kind of time if they're not a professional. But really, if you just kind of change the habits.
Yeah, everybody has time.
Everybody, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, everybody
and it's habits, because like I have a lot of those packets of tuna, and I think it's placement and the mental placement. It just so happens that a lot of my cookies are right underneath.
Yeah.
And when I'm reaching, I'm like, well, these cookies are close.
Yeah. It's just I just don't have anything. Like you go through my shit here, like there's nothing. I have nothing.
So if you that is a funny thing. Yeah, when I walked in, he's like, man, I got like a grassroot and some water.
I had one beer. There's one beer, one can of beer in there if you want.
That's nice of you too.
It's a 24-ounce one though. Yeah. It's like a double.
No, but it is funny that it's more about that, because for me, it needs to be out of the house, because if it's in the house, I'm going to eat it.
I will too.
For you too?
Yeah.
And I've never been like, there's a thing of cookies. My wife can have a box of cookies or brownies, the best brownies you've ever tasted in your life. If they happen to live in my house, she can still take, I'll take a bite tonight. Where if they're under my roof,
they'll eat the whole thing.
They're gone.
Yeah.
And that I don't. So
I'm the same way, because the one thing I'll fuck around with is like peanut butter. I've been into cashew butter lately.
Yeah, that's good.
But and it's really not horrible. But the problem is I'll eat the entire jar. Like I bought a jar yesterday and I finished it today.
And do you like? I'll jump into the peanut butter, and then only later in life I'll occasionally do the peanut butter banana sandwich, man.
Yeah, I mean,
but just the last month, I said fuck it. Now when I bought a thing of jam, and I've gone back to because PB&J,
it's good.
It just takes you back.
I mean, the shit's good. That's the problem. Like
that's the problem.
The shit's good, and it's just. it's just you just have to be okay with
it's
just
discipline.
Eating for a different purpose.
Would there be a day though? Because like I've heard guys like old timers like Sylvester Stallone mention that he was living this strict diet life, and then all of a sudden he like went somewhere and had he had like a chili dog on a Saturday, and he like curled over in pain because his system couldn't even take it.
True.
So now what he does is he gives himself
once
the
in a
weekends.
while.
He goes Monday through Friday, eats totally clean, and on the weekends he lets himself.
I mean, these dudes, especially when those dudes are like 50, 60s, 70s now.
Right, yeah.
I've done that.
Do you have a cheat day, or will you ever go back and like have like?
I've done
a piece
it.
Of pizza
I've,
or something.
I've done it, but I don't. I try not to anymore.
Yeah.
I've been.
It's a habit now, right?
Just with things going on lately, I'm really just staying as lean as fucking possible.
Yeah.
I'll be 40 in less than a year. I'm 39 now.
It's weird because as you say that, I'm personally thinking about trying to get as fat as possible during these times.
My plan I probably maybe like late 60s where I'll just
you're just gonna go
do everything.
It's time.
I'm gonna start. I don't do drugs. Like I don't smoke.
Yeah.
I don't do coke or anything.
When you're 60,
but I'm going to.
Don't do it.
Like 65.
No way, dude. It's
coke. I'm gonna smoke
just everything.
Weed. Yeah, everything I've never done.
You're smoking
eat like a fucking asshole.
Yeah, man, the coke thing in particular is what I've run into the most in the music industry. And,
they love it.
They love it. And this one dude in particular, man, it's so sad. I won't mention his name, but
I know him.
This one dude moved. I was doing a piano gig in the city when I first came to town. I don't know if even because I've hung on to my 219 number, but I've been out here for 20 years now. Know. But anyway, he had the sweetest gig. He was playing piano, had an amazing voice, and he was getting $6,000 a month to just work 5 nights at the same place.
It's fucking insane.
Couldn't stop with the coke though. Couldn't stop. And then he had like a heart attack, and the doctor said, "Dude,
quit doing it.
You need to quit doing it. Trust me, don't." He lived clean for like 3 weeks. Jumped back into it, and a few months later, dude had a stroke. Now, again, he bought himself like a sweet place downtown, had a stroke, and now half of his body doesn't work.
Nice.
Lost the gig, lost everything. Like, can you believe it? Like, my advice, I'll probably just get, some pizza and donuts when I'm 60.
Yeah.
And,
well, I mean,
we'll have a pizza donut party.
At some point, I'm hoping where it's just like I don't fucking care about anything. And then just do whatever the fuck, do all the stuff that I never did before. I mean, who cares?
Don't you want to live too, though? Like, what?
I don't think
age?
so.
No, it just doesn't sound like you do. It's just what the hell? No, but it's weird, man. Well, you're doing it right now, man. Oh, okay. Let me see. What else would people want to ask a freaking model? What? Oh, face shit. All right, what do you do there?
What do you mean?
I don't know. What's the whole? People worry about the
clean my face,
the bags, or are you masking? Do you like here I go, man? We're masking.
I don't.
Or you just like no, fuck it, man. I'll use a dial,
dude.
bottle.
You know what I've been using for like fucking ever, like forever, like 20 years is just the Proactive stuff.
I don't even know if I know what that
you ever
is.
see the commercial on TV? It's like the face wash stuff.
Oh, you sure.
It's like a 3.
Is that a whole thing?
Yeah, it's like a 3-step thing.
Yeah.
I've honestly been using it since like college.
Really?
Like religiously every day.
But
I have a subscription, and
so many people though they're always talking. If I look at a basic face wash in the aisles, I'm seeing like everything's got aloe and
I don't fuck. No, I did. This stuff's like prescription.
You don't even go with like this is berries and
this stuff you order it and it's like a
and the face looks young, man. You look
well. You also consider when you're eating right and you're exercising and you drink a lot of fucking water and you're not drinking alcohol so much. Like your skin will look better. Like you'll naturally not age. Like, I have friends that I went to high school with that look like they're 75 years old now.
So everybody's going to be like,
but
man, when he OD'd at 60, he looked 40 at 60.
I also don't have kids either, and I'm not married. So
that's the thing.
This is there's a lot of stress with other shit, but there's also
you've got an unmarried, unkid face though.
That's part of it.
That is a thing. Yeah.
Like I don't have the gray hair yet, or
dude.
anything.
Those first 2 years of any parent's life. Oh, yeah, that's the thing.
I know.
Well, and again, we won't talk about it, but eventually you guys are all going to be seeing this guy even more than you already are. Things are happening for this guy, and they're going to continue to happen, man. And what's cool about you is it's one way or another, you just keep fucking moving. You keep moving. That is I did one of those TED Talk deals.
Yeah, and
my whole TED Talk was about that. Just like
moving, yeah.
Move. Don't, and that seems to be your jam.
You know what we were talking about just like the COVID time period here, and it's really just at some point you can't, you're either just going to sit and wait, or you have to figure out, okay, what's next, or what's still working, and I'll be honest with you, I sat and waited for a little while, a couple months.
I think we all did, yeah.
And but now lately I've been motivated to like, what are we doing next? Like, what the fuck are we doing?
Yeah,
because we got to figure something out. So
we don't know.
We don't know, but the cool thing is, what I'm hoping is I'm working on a few other things. Like I started social media managing.
Yeah, that's cool too. Talk about that.
I just, I'm doing it for a suit, like a custom suit company here in Chicago. They're right on Michigan Avenue.
And what are you doing exactly? Like, what do you do for them?
Well, I mean, I'm working with them on their Instagram and Facebook, and we're gonna kind of change the vibe of it, and I'm gonna work on content creating with them. Working on like paid ad stuff, and just I've been friends with the owner of the company for a long time, and now we're just kind of working together. He's a cool creative guy. It's called Daniel George. But it's a super high end place, and like the clientele is like, it's a lot of like Bears players, Hawks players.
Oh, nice.
The clientele is really good, and he's got a lot of good relationships with those types of people, and he suits those people up. Like that's who wears his fucking suits. So it's like,
that's what I'm talking about, though, man. Because that marketing thing stems all the way back from what you had to do for the club, and then the new group, and then even yourself as a product. And it's to be able to like take that and move it over here.
So going back to like our little company with me and Glenn is like, I was always Glenn was on a lot of the business end of it, but I handle a lot of the marketing, promotion, social media stuff.
Yeah,
is on my plate, and I work with some great guys. There's this dude Patrick that does a lot of shit at Bourbon Street for social media. Pretty much runs it at this point. And I work with him on a lot of stuff, and he's content creating. There's other people. There's this other guy Jonathan who was involved in Bourbon Street, who's just good at that kind of stuff, content creating. He does drone footage and stuff. So we're kind of just taking all these dudes that we know that are good, and we're kind of corralling everybody, and going to start doing social media management as part of our little company.
Nice.
The me doing the suit company is me personally, but we're also like kind of spinning off into like social media management with our little operation.
Which is great, man, because that's not going to stop during even a
no,
COVID,
no. It's just so important now for businesses. And there's just a lot of small businesses that just need to be that they just don't even have social media, or they have it and it just needs to be fucking cleaned up or used properly.
Right.
But, it's definitely what the fuck is going on for the next
it's
while. So,
all right, man, tell the world where they can where they can find you. What is the website? What's the company or the company would
for that?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's
now the thing about this podcast, my friend.
This podcast
here is that the reason we never talk about, and then September 13th is because what tends to happen with this podcast is that people, every time there's a new one, they just binge it like Netflix.
Yeah.
So that's why that's why I'm so happy to get your story on here, because basically what's going to happen is 5 years from now, a couple hundred people a month are going to be still downloading this freaking episode.
I might be dead by
to learn all. You're going to be doing all those things.
This will be.
He died. He had a vial of Coke and a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
A fucking cocaine stroke.
He never even got to the cashew butter. That was all that left, man. No, but so that's the beauty of it. Is that. But everybody gets new fans and they get Googled every time they're on the show.
Oh,
so where would you like people to look for you?
Just my website.
Yeah.
KennyBraasch.com.
Spell it out.
KennyBraasch.com.
You went to the com just in case.
I mean, on there is just sort of has everything, and then it
so whatever you're up to, they can find it.
Yeah, it's all on there,
the
and you can kind of like the Right Stuff Entertainment, our little company, is on there, and Bourbon Street's on there, and
there it is.
The modeling stuff's on there, and
boom,
whatever else is coming down the line, it'll be on there.
Yeah,
all that stuff. So,
that's great, man. I promise you, folks, we will keep him alive past 60. And I hope you had a good time, man. It was good to hang out with you.
Yeah, man.
The good thing about knowing you for so long is we did this exact show just like at a table at Bourbon Street about 3 years ago. So I'm really, like I said, man, I know it sounds corny because we've known each other for a while, but man, I'm just freaking proud of you, dude.
Thanks, man.
Don't know many people that did it the way you did it, and you're constantly moving, and it just makes me proud and happy, man. So
it's just a hustling thing. We're just hustling here.
I love it, man. So now you got, if you didn't know him before, you know him now. You love him now. Kenny Braasch, and find him. There it is. You heard the website. What is it again? KennyBraasch.com?
KennyBraasch.com.
Boom. He even spelled it for you. You rewind that and you could find it. So there you go, folks. Hey, thanks for hanging out with us. We had a great time. Until next time, have a great month. Have a great week. Have a great day. Go out and find your smile. Boom. And you just did it.
Damn.
That was cool, man. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Welcome to my life so far. You'd think by now I'd be a star. I may be long-winded, but hey, there's just so much I have to say. Maybe lick your lips when you're hungry. Maybe drop your head when you're sorry. Maybe shake a bit when you're worried. That's